First contact deception. The sleek exploration vessel Zenith sliced through the darkness of space, its quantum engines humming with barely contained power as it approached the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star. Commander Thrix stood on the command deck, her four arms crossed behind her back, as she studied the holographic projection of the blue-green world. "Preliminary scans complete, Commander," announced Science Officer Vrel, his translucent appendages dancing across the control interface. "Atmosphere composition suitable for Zenari respiration with minor filtration. Biosphere intact, detecting signs of primitive civilization advancement. Pre-stellar travel technology level." Thrix's secondary eyes blinked in rapid succession while her primary pair remained fixed on the planet. "Access historical records. What do we know about this world?" Vrel's membrane-like skin rippled with blue light patterns as he interfaced with the ship's database. Designation: Earth. Last surveyed approximately 500,000 standard cycles ago by the ancestral Zenari exploration fleet. At that time, the dominant species, self-named humans, had just developed rudimentary agriculture and basic metalworking. "And now?" Thrix asked, her voice carrying that peculiar mix of scientific curiosity and caution that had made her the youngest command officer in the modern Zenari fleet. "They appear to have developed primitive combustion engines, basic atmospheric flight capability, and limited electronic communications. No indication of unified planetary government. Multiple nation-states competing for resources. Early space exploration limited to their natural satellite and unmanned probes to neighboring planets." Commander Thrix's mouthparts clicked thoughtfully. "Interesting. They've advanced significantly, but still within expected development parameters for an isolated species." She turned to her first officer, Flex. "Prepare a contact team. Standard first contact protocols. We'll make peaceful approach to their largest governing body." "Is that wise, Commander?" Klex questioned, his skin darkening with concern. "The Prime Directive suggests minimal interference with pre-stellar civilizations. The Prime Directive permits contact with species on the verge of stellar capabilities," Thrix countered. "Besides, official policy has changed since the Galactic Assembly was formed. We're here to welcome promising species, not merely observe them." Her voice softened slightly. "These humans have survived 500,000 years on their own. They deserve to know they're not alone." Klex nodded reluctantly. "Contact team will be ready in 3 cycles." "Excellent. We'll make our approach visible to their detection systems. No need to frighten them unnecessarily." As the Zenith descended through Earth's atmosphere, its stealth systems partially disabled to allow detection, Commander Thrix studied the approaching landmass. Their destination was a sprawling urban center on the eastern coast of the northern continent, a concentration of primitive concrete and steel structures that appeared to be a seat of regional governance. "They're not responding to our approach," Communications Officer Mez reported, her voice tinged with surprise. "Their detection systems must have registered our entry. Yet there are no military responses, no communications attempts." "Perhaps their systems are more primitive than we believed," Thrix suggested, though a note of unease had crept into her voice. "Continue descent. Land in the open area near their central structures." The Zenith settled gently in what appeared to be a public gathering space surrounded by tall buildings. Through the viewports, Thrix could see hundreds of humans gathering at a safe distance, pointing and staring. They showed curiosity rather than fear. "Atmospheric analysis confirms breathable air with acceptable contamination levels," Vrel reported. "Radiation within normal parameters." Thrix nodded decisively. "Contact team with me. Standard protective gear, but no weapons visible. Let's introduce ourselves." As the Zenari delegation emerged from their ship, a small group of humans approached. They wore simple cloth garments, nothing that suggested advanced technology or even official status. Yet they moved with purpose and confidence. "Greetings," Thrix began, the ship's universal translator converting her complex clicking speech into sound waves the humans could understand. I am Commander Thrix of the Zenari Exploration Fleet. We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge exchange. A human with dark skin and graying hair stepped forward, his expression unnervingly calm for someone experiencing first contact. Welcome to Earth, Commander Thrix. I am Dr. Marcus Chen, representing the United Earth Council. His voice came through the translator without difficulty, suggesting he was speaking a standardized language. Thrix's secondary eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of surprise among her kind. United Earth Council. Our scans indicated multiple competing nation-states, not a unified planetary government. Dr. Chen smiled. Your scans showed exactly what we wanted them to show, Commander. Perhaps we should continue this conversation somewhere more comfortable than a public park. Before Thrix could respond, the ground beneath them began to descend. The entire landing area, ship included, was sinking smoothly into an underground facility. Klex moved protectively closer to Thrix, but she gestured for calm. A concealed facility, she observed, her scientific mind already analyzing the implications. Impressive engineering. One of many, Dr. Chen replied as the platform came to rest in an enormous underground chamber. Welcome to Earth's true face, Commander. The chamber extended far beyond what should have been possible, given the city above. Gleaming walls housed advanced technology that even Zenari eyes recognize as beyond their own capabilities. Humans in fitted uniforms moved with purpose around what appeared to be control stations and research areas. I don't understand, Thrix admitted, her forearms gesturing in confusion. Our scans showed primitive technology, limited space exploration. Competing nations, Chen finished for her. Yes, that's the profile we maintain for external observation. The cities above are essentially elaborate theater sets, Commander. Real humans live there, going about their lives, but the technology they use is deliberately regressive. First Officer Klex stepped forward. Why the deception? A new human joined them, taller, with pale skin and striking blue eyes. She wore a uniform adorned with symbols of rank. Because we learned long ago that being underestimated is a tactical advantage. First Officer Klex. Her voice carried authority that transcended species barriers. Admiral Helena Rousseau, Earth Defense Command. Thrix's membrane fluttered in surprise. You know his name and rank. How? We've been monitoring your communications since you entered the solar system, Admiral Rousseau explained matter-of-factly. Your encryption is impressive, but not insurmountable. Vrel's appendages trembled slightly. Impossible. Our quantum-locked communications cannot be. Your quantum-locked communications operate on principles your scientists discovered only 3 centuries ago, interrupted a human in what appeared to be scientific attire. We solved those equations approximately 20,000 years ago, and moved beyond them shortly afterward. Commander Thrix felt her world tilting on its axis. 20,000 years. But our scans show exactly what we want them to show, Admiral Rousseau repeated. Commander, your ancestors visited Earth 500,000 years ago and deemed us worthy of only periodic observation. One of your observation satellites malfunctioned and crashed in what you'd now call Eastern Europe. Our ancestors recovered it, studied it, and eventually understood its purpose. Dr. Chen continued the explanation. That was our first warning that we weren't alone in the universe. Instead of broadcasting our development, we chose to conceal it, to watch the watchers, as it were. But why? Thrix asked, genuinely bewildered. The Zenari have never been conquerors. We seek only knowledge and peaceful exchange. Perhaps, Admiral Rousseau acknowledged. But we had no way of knowing that when we were still mastering fire. We chose caution over trust, a decision that has served humanity well. Before Thrix could respond, a young human officer approached Admiral Rousseau and whispered something in her ear. She nodded grimly. It seems your arrival has attracted attention, Commander. 3 unidentified vessels have just entered the outer solar system, moving at superluminal velocities. They match no known configuration in our database. Show me, Fricks requested, professional instincts overriding her shock. A holographic display materialized before them, showing three angular vessels of unfamiliar design. Klex moved closer, studying the projection. "Those are not Cenari," he confirmed unnecessarily. "The configuration suggests Dracon design, but they rarely venture this far from their core systems." Admiral Rousseau nodded to a communications officer. "Initiate Aegis protocol." The chamber rumbled slightly, and a holographic display expanded to show Earth's orbit. Fricks watched in astonishment as thousands of previously invisible platforms and vessels shimmered into view, forming a defensive grid around the planet. "By the 7 moons," whispered Vrel. "They have a planetary shield network." "And that's just our local defense system," Dr. Chen added. "Would you like to see our actual fleet?" Without waiting for an answer, the display shifted to show the dark side of Earth's moon. As they watched, enormous hangar doors opened on the lunar surface, revealing vast shipyards housing vessels that dwarfed the zenith by orders of magnitude. Sleek warships moved into formation with practiced precision, their designs unlike anything in the Cenari database. "This is impossible," Klex muttered. "A civilization cannot advance from stone tools to this level in mere hundreds of thousands of years." Admiral Rousseau's expression softened slightly. "When properly motivated, Commander, humanity can accomplish the impossible with startling regularity. Your ancestors' visit provided that motivation. We've been preparing for the day the stars would come to us ever since." The display shifted again, showing the 3 approaching vessels now being intercepted by a small detachment of human warships. The size disparity was significant. The human vessels were at least 5 times larger than the intruders. "We should inform them that this is likely a misunderstanding," Fricks suggested urgently. "If those are indeed Dracon vessels, they may be following standard exploration protocols." "We're well aware of Dracon protocols, Commander," Admiral Rousseau replied, "and their tendency to claim undefended systems as tribute territories. But don't worry, we're not going to destroy them unless they fire first." As if on cue, the lead Dracon vessel launched what appeared to be a high-energy weapon toward the human formation. The energy beam struck a seemingly empty space before the human ships and dissipated harmlessly against an invisible barrier. "Warning shot delivered and received," Admiral Rousseau commented dryly. "Now we respond in kind." One of the smaller human vessels fired a pinpoint beam that struck the Dracon ship's propulsion system with surgical precision. The vessel immediately began drifting, its engines dark. "Disabled, not destroyed," Dr. Chen explained. "We prefer to introduce ourselves properly before resorting to lethal force." Commander Fricks watched as the remaining Dracon vessels reversed course, accelerating away from the Earth system at maximum speed. The human fleet made no move to pursue them. "They'll return with reinforcements," Klex warned. Admiral Rousseau nodded. "We're counting on it. First contact scenarios rarely go smoothly, but they do provide valuable information about potential allies and enemies." Fricks turned to face the human leaders directly. "You've hidden your true development from the galaxy for 500,000 years. Why reveal yourselves now? Why not continue the deception?" Dr. Chen exchanged a glance with Admiral Rousseau before answering. "Because the galaxy is changing, Commander. New threats are emerging that concern us. The time for hiding is over." He paused momentarily. "And because your particular vessel was chosen very carefully for this revelation." "Chosen?" Fricks repeated, her membrane flushing with confusion. "What do you mean?" "Your reputation precedes you, Commander Fricks," Admiral Rousseau explained. "Your published work on ethical first contact protocols and your advocacy for peaceful cooperation caught our attention. If humanity is to emerge onto the galactic stage, we prefer to do so with thoughtful allies." Fricks struggled to process the implications. Everything she thought she knew about this primitive world had been upended in the space of an hour. These humans had not only advanced beyond expectations, they had been watching the Watchers, gathering intelligence, and preparing defenses against threats they had every reason to anticipate. And now they were offering friendship, but on their terms, from a position of unmistakable strength. "I believe," she said finally, "that my superiors will need to be informed of these developments immediately." "Of course," Dr. Chen agreed. "But first, perhaps you'd like to see what humanity has really been doing for the past 500,000 years. I promise, Commander, you haven't even glimpsed the surface of our capabilities yet." As they were led deeper into the facility, Commander Thrix couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy had just changed irrevocably. The observers had become the observed, and humanity's patience had finally paid off. The Galactic Test. Commander Thrix stood transfixed as the magnetic levitation platform carried the Zenari delegation and their human hosts deeper into Earth's subterranean complex. The initial shock of discovering humanity's deception was giving way to scientific curiosity, her primary driving force since childhood. "This facility extends 8 kilometers beneath the surface," Dr. Chen explained, gesturing to the passing levels visible through transparent walls. "It's one of our smaller research outposts. Actually, smaller." Science Officer Vrel's translucent skin pulsed with pale green light, a sign of astonishment among his subspecies. This complex could house the entire scientific academy of Central Zenaria. Admiral Rousseau allowed herself a small smile. "We have approximately 12,000 such facilities worldwide, though most specialize in specific research domains. This particular complex focuses on xenobiology and first contact protocols." 12,000, First Officer Klex repeated, his usually stoic demeanor cracking. "Your species has dedicated remarkable resources to scientific advancement." "Necessity breeds innovation," Dr. Chen replied. "When your civilization discovers it's not alone in the universe, priorities tend to shift dramatically." The platform came to rest in a cavernous chamber filled with what appeared to be historical artifacts arranged in chronological sequence. Thrix immediately recognized the remains of a Zenari observation satellite, ancient by their standards, but preserved with meticulous care. "The beginning of our journey," Admiral Rousseau said, noting Thrix's interest. "We recovered this approximately 472,000 years ago, according to your calendar. It took us nearly 10,000 years to understand its basic principles, another 5,000 to reverse engineer its cloaking technology." "Impossible," Vrel whispered, though his skepticism lacked conviction. "Such technological leaps would require motivation," interrupted Dr. Chen, "which your arrival provided in abundance. Imagine discovering you're being watched by beings with technology centuries beyond your understanding. Our ancestors had 2 choices: cower in fear or strive to close the gap. They moved past displays showing humanity's true technological progression, quantum computers when the surface world was still using bronze tools, antimatter containment while Europe was experiencing its medieval period, the first human faster-than-light prototype constructed in secret beneath the Himalayan mountains, while the world above celebrated the first moon landing. You maintained 2 parallel civilizations," Thrix observed, professional admiration overriding her discomfort. "One visible, one hidden." 3, actually," corrected a new voice. A tall, silver-haired human in a simple gray uniform approached from a side corridor. Despite his unadorned appearance, the other humans straightened perceptibly in his presence. "The surface world, the subterranean research facilities, and our extraterrestrial colonies. Commander Thrix, this is Director Caleb Okonkwo, Chairman of the Human Expansion Directive." Admiral Rousseau introduced him with subtle deference. "Colonies?" Klex inquired sharply. "Your species has established off-world settlements." Director Okonkwo nodded, his dark eyes studying the Zenari with calm intensity. "Our first extrasolar colony was established approximately 200,000 years ago in what you call the Proxima Centauri system. Currently, humanity maintains settlements in 314 star systems across this arm of the galaxy." Vrel's appendages trembled visibly. "That's not possible. The Zenari exploration fleet has charted this entire sector. We would have detected such widespread colonization." Would you? Director Okonkwo asked mildly. He gestured to a nearby console, and a holographic galactic map materialized before them. Hundreds of star systems illuminated in blue. These are the systems where humanity has established permanent presence. Notice anything interesting about them. Thrix studied the display, her scientific mind automatically searching for patterns. Understanding dawned slowly. They're all systems the Zenari surveyed and classified as uninhabitable or uninteresting. Precisely, Okonkwo confirmed. Your exploration protocols are admirably thorough but predictable. Systems with high radiation, extreme gravitational stress, or unusual stellar activity are marked as hazardous and rarely revisited. Perfect locations for a civilization that wishes to remain unnoticed while expanding its presence. But why? Thrix asked, genuinely perplexed. If your technological development is as advanced as you claim, why hide from the galactic community? You could have made yourselves known centuries ago. Admiral Rousseau and Director Okonkwo exchanged glances before the latter responded. Because we weren't ready, he said simply. Not in terms of technology, but understanding. We needed to learn about the galaxy, its species, its politics, its dangers, without revealing our own existence until we could be certain of our place in it. And now you are. Klex challenged. Now we must be, Admiral Rousseau corrected. The galaxy is changing, Commander. New threats are emerging that concern us deeply. Before Thrix could inquire further, an alert sounded throughout the facility. A young human officer approached Director Okonkwo and whispered urgently in his ear. It seems our timeline has accelerated, Okonkwo announced calmly. The Drakon vessels have returned as predicted, with reinforcements. 43 warships have just emerged from superluminal transit at the edge of the solar system. Rather than panic, the humans moved with practiced efficiency. The chamber transformed around them, historical displays retracting into walls as tactical holographs bloomed into existence. The Drakon imperative is technically part of the Galactic Assembly, Thrix said urgently, but they're known for aggressive expansion. If they've brought a war fleet, they believe this system is unclaimed or minimally defended. We're aware of their reputation, Admiral Rousseau replied, studying the tactical display. We've had several encounters with their scouting parties over the centuries, though we allowed them to believe they were observing primitive humans rather than our actual capabilities. Director Okonkwo turned to Commander Thrix. This presents an opportunity, Commander. The Zenari Collective prides itself on being peacekeepers within the Galactic Assembly. Would you be willing to attempt communication with the Drakon fleet? Explain that this system is inhabited and under your diplomatic protection. The request startled Thrix. You want us to intercede on your behalf. Why not reveal yourselves directly? First impressions matter, Dr. Chen explained. If humanity's first official contact with the Drakon is through an established Galactic Assembly member, it creates a framework for peaceful integration rather than confrontation. Thrix considered the request carefully. I will need to consult with my superiors, she began, but was interrupted by Klex. Commander, the Drakon fleet is deploying what appear to be planetary assault formations. Their intent seems clear. The tactical display showed the Drakon vessels arranging themselves in a classic invasion configuration. Smaller craft were launching from the larger ships. Troop transports, according to the human systems analysis. They're not responding to standard hailing frequencies, reported a human communications officer. Director Okonkwo nodded grimly. Then we proceed to Phase 2. Admiral, you have operational control. Activate the Aegis network, Admiral Rousseau ordered. Bring defense platforms to full power. Deploy the home fleet. The tactical display expanded, showing Earth's orbital space in greater detail. What had appeared to be satellites and small defense platforms suddenly transformed, unfolding into much larger structures. Across the lunar surface, concealed hangars opened, revealing hundreds of warships that dwarfed anything in the Drakon fleet. By the sacred nebula, Vrel whispered, their fleet must outnumber the entire Zenari defensive force. The home fleet represents approximately 8% of our military capability, Admiral Rousseau stated matter-of-factly. The bulk of our forces are distributed among our colonial systems. The human vessels moved with impossible precision, forming a defensive sphere around Earth. Their designs were unlike anything in Zenari records, sleek, asymmetrical craft that seemed to bend light around them. The Drakon are attempting to establish a beachhead in orbit around Mars, a tactical officer reported. Planetary assault vessels are descending toward the surface. Admiral Rousseau smiled thinly. Perfect. Activate the Mars defense grid. On the display, the seemingly barren Martian surface came alive with activity. Concealed installations emerged from beneath the red dust, weapon systems orienting toward the descending Drakon ships. "You fortified Mars as well?" Fricks asked, unable to hide her astonishment. "Every planet, moon, and significant asteroid in this system is fortified," Director Okonkwo confirmed. "Some more extensively than others. Mars houses our primary military academy and fleet construction facilities. The Martian defense systems fired in coordinated sequence. Precision energy beams struck the Drakon assault craft with surgical accuracy, disabling rather than destroying them. The disabled vessels descended in controlled falls, guided by invisible fields to land intact on the Martian surface. Taking prisoners, Klex observed. Taking students, corrected Dr. Chen. The Drakon, like all species, have much to teach us about their technology, biology, and culture. We prefer to learn through peaceful exchange, but we adapt to circumstances as necessary. In orbit, the main Drakon fleet found itself suddenly surrounded by human warships that had appeared seemingly from nowhere. The tactical display showed energy readings spiking across the Drakon vessels. Weapons charging. "They're preparing to fire," the tactical officer announced. "Standard containment protocol," Admiral Rousseau ordered calmly. "Non-lethal if possible." What happened next left the Zenari delegation speechless. The human fleet didn't fire weapons. Instead, each Drakon vessel was suddenly encased in a shimmering field of energy. Their weapons discharged harmlessly within these containment bubbles, the energy dissipating into nothing. "Localized space-time manipulation fields," Dr. Chen explained, noting Thrix's scientific curiosity. "They create a temporary pocket dimension around each vessel. They can see out, but their weapons can't penetrate the dimensional barrier." "That's theoretically impossible," Vrel stated, his scientific training warring with the evidence before his eyes. "Theory is a starting point, not a limitation," Dr. Chen replied. "We moved beyond conventional physics approximately 150,000 years ago." On the display, the largest Drakon vessel, presumably their command ship, was being drawn toward Earth, still encased in its containment field. The other Drakon ships remained similarly immobilized. "They're being brought to our diplomatic center," Director Okonkwo explained. "We'll offer them the same choice we're offering you, Commander Thrix." "And what choice is that?" Thrix asked, suddenly conscious that her small exploration vessel was as thoroughly outmatched as the Drakon fleet. Director Okonkwo's expression softened slightly. "Humanity has hidden long enough. We've studied the galaxy and its peoples for 500,000 years. We've built our civilization in secret, expanding cautiously, learning constantly. Now we're ready to emerge, but we'd prefer to do so as partners rather than conquerors. Are those the only options you see?" Fricks challenged. "Partnership or conquest? History suggests they're the most stable arrangements," Admiral Rousseau replied pragmatically. "But we strongly prefer partnership. The galaxy faces challenges that will require cooperation on an unprecedented scale." A subtle shift in the tactical display caught Thrix's attention. Beyond the edge of the solar system, energy readings indicated unusual activity in subspace. "What's happening there?" she asked, pointing to the anomaly. The humans exchanged knowing glances. "That," Director Okonkwo said gravely, "is the real reason we can hide no longer. Science Officer Vrel, would you care to analyze those energy signatures?" Vrel moved closer to the display, his appendages interfacing with the human technology with surprising compatibility. After a moment, his skin paled to an ashen gray. These readings matched theoretical models for space-time ruptures. If these calculations are correct, something is attempting to tear through into our dimension. Precisely, Admiral Rousseau confirmed. We detected the first such anomalies approximately 3,000 years ago. They'd been increasing in frequency and intensity. Our scientists believe they'll reach critical threshold within the next century. What comes through these ruptures? Klex asked, military training focusing on the tactical implications. Dr. Chen gestured, and the display shifted to show grainy footage of something emerging from a swirling vortex in deep space. The entity defied easy description, a writhing mass of darkness that seemed to consume light itself, with appendages that branched in geometrically impossible ways. We call them void entities, he explained. They exist primarily in dimensions adjacent to our own. As our various species have expanded faster than light travel networks, we've been thinning the barriers between dimensions. These entities have noticed, and they're hungry. Why haven't we detected them? Fricks demanded. The Zenari have been traversing the stars for millennia. You have, Director Okonkwo said quietly. Your records contain numerous accounts of ships disappearing in transit, of strange phenomena in deep space. But the incidents were isolated, separated by vast distances and time. We had the advantage of a hidden civilization spread across hundreds of systems, correlating data no one knew we were gathering. Commander Thrix studied the humans with new understanding. Their paranoia, their secrecy, their massive military buildup, all of it pointed to a species preparing for an existential threat. And now, she asked, now we need allies, Admiral Rousseau stated plainly. The void entities are becoming more aggressive, more numerous. Humanity cannot face this threat alone, nor can the Zenari, nor the Drakon, nor any single species. The time for hiding is past, Director Okonkwo continued. Humanity must take its place in the galactic community, not as conquerors, but as guardians. We've spent 500,000 years preparing for this moment, developing technologies specifically designed to combat extra-dimensional threats. And you want the Zenari to facilitate your introduction to the Galactic Assembly, Fricks concluded. We want partners who understand what we're facing, Dr. Chen corrected. Species who will stand with us when the barriers between dimensions finally collapse. Fricks considered the implications carefully. If the humans were correct about the void entities, the entire galaxy faced a threat unlike any in recorded history. If they were being truthful about their capabilities, humanity might represent the galaxy's best hope for survival. And if they were lying, well, they had already demonstrated the ability to neutralize both Zenari and Drakon vessels with minimal effort. They could have conquered dozens of worlds already if that had been their intention. I will need to consult with the Zenari High Council, she said finally. This goes beyond my authority as an exploration commander. Of course, Director Okonkwo agreed. We would expect nothing less. But while you deliberate, perhaps you'd care to observe our first official diplomatic exchange with the Drakon. It might prove informative. The display shifted to show a magnificent chamber where the Drakon command vessel was being guided into a massive docking bay. The scene had an undeniable theatricality to it, humanity revealing its true face to another galactic power. Your species has patience I can scarcely comprehend, Fricks admitted. To hide your development for 500,000 years, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Patience is less difficult when you have purpose, Admiral Rousseau replied. Every generation of humans has understood their role in preparing for this moment, when humanity would finally step onto the galactic stage, not as newcomers to be studied or conquered, but as equals, perhaps even as saviors. As they watched the Drakon vessel dock, Commander Thrix couldn't help but wonder if this day would be remembered as the beginning of a new galactic era, one shaped by a species that had watched from the shadows for 500,000 years, learning, building, preparing. The observers had become the guardians, and the galaxy would never be the same again. "Director," she said finally, "I believe the Zeneri Collective would be very interested in establishing formal diplomatic relations with humanity, and perhaps we might start by combining our knowledge about these void entities." Director Okonkwo smiled, a genuine expression that transcended species boundaries. "Commander Thrix, I believe this marks the beginning of a most productive partnership." As the Drakon dignitaries emerged from their vessel, stepping hesitantly into humanity's domain, Thrix couldn't help but feel that she was witnessing history being made. Humanity had hidden in plain sight for 500,000 years, building an interstellar civilization, while the galaxy's established powers remained oblivious to their progress. Now they were ready to take their place among the stars, not as supplicants, but as saviors. The species that had mastered patience had finally decided to act, and the timing could not have been more critical. The observers had been observed all along. The hunters had become the hunted. And now, as dimensional barriers weakened across the galaxy, humanity's long vigil was about to pay dividends not just for Earth, but for all sentient life. Commander Thrix straightened her posture, a decision forming in her mind. When she reported to the High Council, she would advocate not just for diplomatic recognition of humanity, but for a full military alliance, because whatever was coming through those dimensional tiers would require every advantage they could muster. And humanity, with its 500,000 years of hidden preparation, might just be the advantage the galaxy needed to survive.